I am Citizen Superior. I'm most commonly known for my powers of flight and strength and speed, the classics. My general ability is far greater to that of humans.
I'm Admiral Attack. I love the sea, and my power doesn't actually have much to do with the sea, but I have a kicky leg. That's what I call it. That's what my mom called it. But my leg is very, very strong with kicks. So if the bad guys come, I kick them. And that's kind of my one thing. That's my one move. I'm a man of science in its most depraved form. I'm really a classic sort of a evil scientist, as far as the term extends. I do things because science must be furthered and people don't have the stomach for it, blah blah blah, all of that. But really for me, it's fun.
I'm WhackJob. I can whack things real good. That's pretty much it. I'm good at what I do. I'm the drill sergeant. I was in fact a drill sergeant. Yeah, before the drills. I have bestowed upon myself a citizenship of the planet, and I a superior one in all ways. And I have this that brings me close to my home. I'm strong. I whack things. Really durable. Tell you that. Been hit by a lot of things. People, trains, a bus, a f***ing cow one time.
The power of intellect, a superior intellect, I would say. I could build just about anything that I think of. I could dissect a human alphabetically. I'm a genius and a real sicko.
I have drills on my hands, and an incredible mental fortitude.
It is just the one leg. It's not both legs, and it's neither of my hands, or my body, or my head that have the super ability. It is just the one leg, and maybe that does contribute to the uncoordination. But once I do land a kick, they better watch it in the big leagues, because it's my time to shine.
I would like to have it known, though, that I know there are some in this city who believe that these are just make-believe titles that have no real-world value. And I would like to say that is incredibly offensive to me as a real drill sergeant.
I was never a real admiral, per se, but I like to say that I am an admiral. I have an admiration of the sea, just as much as a regular admiral, a so-called real admiral. I don't really see why that needs to be reserved to people who have served their country. I serve my country every day. I kick them. I kick away the bad guys.
Admiral Attack, if you continue to use this false title in your name, I hope we do not meet. And that is all I will say about that.
I'm an admiral. I'm Admiral Attack.
Well, my origin story, I was raised by humble farmers after they found me as a baby. I know many people, there's the misconception that, oh, he can fly and is perfect. They think, oh, he must have come from space. I didn't, in fact, come from space. When I was found, I was in a crater, but not from an impact crater. It was a crater of my own creation. I had clawed and dug my way up from the mantle of the earth, and that is where they found me.
I suppose that my origin story began, as a child. Usually, as villains, our origins start with a troubled childhood. My mother was a woman of science, and my father was one of her victims, you could say. And this is what first stoked my interest in science, was dissecting my own father. And, you might think, oh, it's horrible. It's such a horrible thing to put a child through. But I I had the time of my life, really, and I think he did too. We kept him awake for most of the process, and some people who grew up without a father, they think, oh, I never got to play catch with my dad, or he never taught me how to shave, but. My memories of my father are some of the most treasured in my life, and I wouldn't trade that experience for anything. And so I do think that did shape me to a degree. My mother kept my schooling at a very high level, but yes, I could say that was probably the root of much of what I am today. Is that experience? It was, yeah, yes. All right, now just bear with me here. So. It turns out that there is, a God. And when I say that, I don't mean like, God. I am Christian, but I did just, there's another God. There's another God. There is a God of, the God of legs. And one time I was in an antique shop, run by a wizened old man, and essentially he drew me towards this idol of a muscular, Roman leg, and he said, oh, touch it, touch the leg, and so I did, and all of a sudden I was in a trance. I think I passed out on the floor, and I was face to face with the God of legs, and he blessed me. He blessed me with the power of having a one leg that was really strong, and he made a deal with me. He said, Hugo, you will now have the power to kick ass. That's what he said to me.
Well, my dad's a bull.
Excuse?
My dad's a bull.
Did you want to elaborate?
My father was a bull. They found me there. I had nothing with me. I was just a teeny, tiny, naked baby. All but, of course, my special golden leaf. And that is where I was found and then raised by my very human parents. I don't remember any of that, of course. I was just a baby at the time, that was, gosh, 65 years ago at this point, and so it's tough for, people to remember that far back. I'm what? 4.5, maybe?
All he asked in return is that I, spread the word about, the God of legs. He referred to himself as the true God. Being a Christian, it's a little bit hard for me to, preach about, this mass of various legs as opposed to, God. And, that has been somewhat troubling with my personal relationships. But, that's neither here nor there. I am, praise le casque. I am obligated to say that if I want to retain my powers. And yeah, that's essentially how it happened. I woke up, I was back in the antique shop, and the old man said, he was a bit creepy. But, and then all of a sudden I looked down, I could feel power coursing through my right leg, and the rest is, well, I hope the rest is history.
What do you, I don't know what you want. He's a bull. As far as origins, I was a strong baby. It's not often that babies, that's what's notable about them. You get a baby and you're like, hey, it's a fucking baby. But, this was like, whoa, that baby's strong. These human constructs, really, I've never quite gotten the hang of all of it.
But you were raised by human parents from a very young age.
Yes.
And so you still don't have a grasp of human culture.
It's all very quaint to me. The human experience. It's all very interesting, and it's always baffled me. It's always been eluded my it's there are some things that are just a god doesn't have to worry about little things. Yeah, and then that was kind of just the thing, strong. But then I played baseball the one time, and that's really where I kind of found my speciality, whacking. Just whacking. Found some crime after that, my father being a bull and all, I don't necessarily need to grasp all of these things, when you are a mere human, like these things are important, it's important to understand time and the way the universe spins and how the earth falls. I think that's very important for humans to know. My origin story, well, I was in the army, serving my country. And one day a civilian thought it would be a good idea to make an IED out of a shoe.
I essentially loaded a small sneaker with a relatively small amount of C4.
And he threw it at me. Me thinking it was a shoe, caught it, and I was blown to hell.
Well, I bombed this shoe at him, and hoping that it would blow his hands off, and I'd then be left able to experiment on his hands.
But that actually had nothing to do with this, because I woke up and both my hands were still there. But I woke up in a lab, and this sick of a so-called scientist decided that instead of healing the burns all over my chest and forehead, that he would instead cut off my arms and hands and and give me drills for hands.
It's a drill sergeant, right? Like, I don't think he really realized that was what I was going for, because he made that his name. I just find that hilarious. I just find that utterly remarkable.
So now, if ever you need a 3/5 or a 17/47 hole drilled, not sure who would need that or why it's such an obscure number, but I can drill a hole in this direction or seemingly this direction. So, yeah. But I will tell you this. I have gone after that scientist on many occasions.
He hates me, and I love it. I couldn't be more happy with how that experiment turned out. I've had other experiments, but usually you cut a guy's feet off, you stick them to his cheeks, his butt cheeks, that is, and he walks off. Admittedly, quite, you can imagine someone walking feet on the. Anyways, they go off. They live a horrible, miserable life. But this has just been. I can't express how happy I am with how that particular experiment worked out.
He has decided that he is a villain of this city, and masquerades as some sort of evil vigilante. I don't know what the word is.
Supervillain.
Well, there also is that disgusting creature, the abominable beast man.
Oh, the slavering beast that is walking around. I know of this being. I know of his ferocity and terror.
Yes, I know of who you speak. I've noted his presence on Earth. It is troubling. I've been observing him for a while, because I do not believe he is human, and that is troubling to me. Because if I saw something that wasn't human that just appeared on this planet, I think that people should be concerned about such a thing. the The ugly guy. What's he called? He's called the monstrous freak man. The hideous 12th hideous guy of the world. I believe he's called the atrocious, ferocious,
The ugly menace.
atrocious, ferocious ferocity, the smelly, stinky guy. The ferocious atrocity?
The hideous scratcher. I don't know.
Abominable wretch monster?
I've approached him several times about ventures together as supervillains. He seems generally uninterested, unfortunately. He's this elusive thing he's just so disgusting.
I think he needs to be stopped. He walks around the city, and I do try and defend civilians from his presence. I know he is always up to no good. Some things, in this world don't need to be explored. And, that guy, I think, is one of them that probably the universe in the first place should not have explored. Because now the rest of us have to deal with it.
My name is Rupert Ward. I have a doctor of philosophy. My supervillain name. Okay. First off, I don't consider myself super. I have a condition. My doctors think that it's some form or variant of hypertrichosis. I'm not some super monster. Okay? And second, I don't consider myself a villain either. I'm just a person trying to live my life, constantly being harassed by the super friends. Okay? I didn't ask to look like this. I didn't ask to be like this. Okay, the vicious horror. That's what they call me. The vicious horror. I didn't choose the name. I didn't ask to look like a vicious horror. But here we are.
He would be number 2 on the list of probably people who need to be stopped in this city.
I'm not super. I don't have powers. I have a condition. As I started to grow up, these things started to happen to me. I got claws. I got this weird nose. My ears got pointy, and I got this weird hair thing going on. I'm not a werewolf. I don't turn like this in the full moon. I wish it was just during the full moon. I don't have poison claws or can run on all fours or eat people. I mean, anyone can eat people. That's not a power, but I don't do that. I'd like to make that very clear.
It's not a good time. It's not a good sight. I just know that if I see that guy, I know I should probably steer clear. I have a hard enough time with these nice guys running around, and so if this guy, is not following the rules to begin with, I don't know what he's willing to do.
No origin story, because like I've said to 1,000 reporters, to 1,000 people poking and prodding me, I don't have an origin story because I'm not some super monster. I'm not some creature for the supreme person man to smote back into the earth. He's the one who crawled out of the ground, clawed his way from hell, it would seem. Nobody seems to make that connection. I don't understand why he gets a pass because he's this giant, beautiful, sexy man. It's not fair. I was born here. I was born on Earth. I came from a human. I contribute to society. I don't demolish city blocks on a daily on a whim. And I am a citizen of this country, I might also add.
I'm a citizen of Earth. And I've taken that into my name because I think that's important to be accepted as and acknowledged as a resident of this planet. Um, they they didn't grant me citizenship anywhere when they found me, as they didn't know where I came from.
I'm not this horrible werewolf monster that was bit by a wolf and forced to eat children, or that I was some experiment that got loose. No, I'm afraid to say that wasn't one of mine. That wasn't an experiment of mine. I do wish it was, because that thing is horrifying. I don't have an origin story. I was born. I grew up. You want to know about my life? No, that's boring. It's boring that I grew up in a small town and was bullied as a child, and overcame that and made education my priority. No, that's boring. That's boring. That's stupid. Because you don't want to hear. No, you don't want to hear that. That's right. You want me to move on to the next question. Yeah, that's fine. You go, whatever. Yeah, I'm the super monster. Sure. Okay. A catchphrase. You know, I don't believe I repeat myself too often. Well, you know, as the god of legs once said to me, you know, you can now kick ass. And, you know, I don't like to use foul language as much as I can avoid it. I do like to say kick butt, or, you know, I'll kick ya. You know, the kick related things. I'll get a kick out of this, you know. I'll get a leg up on the competition. That's, you know, I try not to sound too much like I'm trying to sell you something.
Well, catchphrases, I do on occasion like to say, this is not a drill, as to inform civilians that this is in fact a serious situation that is taking place. There have been occasions when it was a false alarm. I am very overcautious around shoes now. Any shoe left unattended, or sometime just on people, if it catches the light the wrong way, I will have a mental breakdown. I think that it's hard for words to express this. You know, I truly believe that if there's a villain afoot and I fly down, I think that it the image really is much more impactful than me saying anything. I think that when people look up and see me, they see, oh, it's Citizen Superior, and coming down, you know, from the sky as I am. I think that's a catchphrase in itself. In situations such as that, when a shoe does turn out to just be a shoe, in those situations I will ease the public's mind and say something along the lines of, this was a drill.
I mean, I do often say, you know, things like, you babbling moron, or, you know, eat robot, you know.
A personal favorite is, I'm going to drill through your bony head, asshole. That is specifically directed at the scientist, of course.
Whack.
I don't really, you know, I don't really think about it. I just whack things, you know. I think a lot of these guys care a lot about their public image, but, you know, I mean, whack. I'm WhackJob. That said, though, I'm not crazy. I'm not a WhackJob. You know, I know there are some sick freaks in this city.
I do find myself, you know, when I'm in the middle of the, what I call the act of, you know, of course, disfiguring someone beyond human recognition, I do find that it's a bit embarrassing, but I find myself screaming, mutilation!
I mean, in the heat of the moment, I don't know how often you're fighting, the strongest thing on the planet. I do it, weekly. That asshole, but there's not a whole lot of time to think about. Did you think about getting whacked?
And as I said, when I do talk about my powers and what they keeping them, I do have to say, praise Lefkest.
I like to think every day helping this planet is a highlight.
Many of my creations are a highlight. The drill sergeant, as it were, is only the beginning of the disgusting things that I've been up to.
Some highlights are beating the ever-loving shit out of that scientist.
Well, I've had a long career as a scholar. I published a paper, co-published a paper on my condition and the psychological effects of a condition of this sort. But I'm sure that you are referring to my super villain career, which is non-existent. I've never committed a crime in my life. I'm not a villain. I'm not even a criminal. I gave a man zebra hooves, specifically, not horse hooves. I'd like that to be very clear. As his hands and his feet, but I also elongated his arms significantly, so he kind of walks like right?
I've stopped, a couple asteroids, that. What did the scientists say? Those little guys. What did they say? They said they were 15 times the size of the one that killed the dinosaurs. So just all in a day's work, really. It's just small feats every day.
I managed to decapitate a man while keeping his consciousness alive, and I secured it to a sort of a mechanical centaur, but without the body. So he really was an entire horse body, but then a man's head. And I was terribly disproportionate, and I love that sort of thing.
There's too many to count, These crazy, colorful poingos run around trying to stop me. Most of the time it's the citizen superior, which, and when he shows up, it's gonna be one of those days. I gotta work for it. But it's work after all. This is my living. I understand that. I gotta work.
There once was this man. I found a way to surgically remove, put it in a garbage bag, which I secured to his sack on his back.
I particularly am fond of one time when there was a slab of drywall just kind of on the street construction site, and since I could not grab it, I used my drill hands to drill into it, and with that I picked it up, and as the scientist was walking to his car, I dropped it right through the windshield, and I'm pretty sure it broke some ribs, but later I did find out it was not his car, and he was in fact stealing it, and I caused additional unnecessary damage to someone's car, but the casualties of war.
I don't know what to say. I can't tell you. Oh, this was this great time when I had an awesome attack on the grocery store. No, I did make the news for being at the grocery store, but I was trying to buy food to stay alive. I was not doing anything wrong. I was just existing. I was shopping, and everyone runs in fear, and some insane man with drills for hands comes in only because he happened to be nearby destroying somebody else's property to force me to leave without the groceries that I just wanted to have a nice meal at home. That's a highlight of my villain career, terrorizing people just trying to get the necessities to live. Oh, I'm such a horrible villain. I did once do a mission with Citizen Superior. This one in my blog is called Sidekick. And he's my hero. He's my role model.
Admiral attack?
We were working on a mission together to stop WhackJob for good. And I learned a lot.
Tentacles. Oh, the sea lad, the ocean friend. He came with me on a mission once, I think. He was helpful as far as humans go.
So that was a lot of fun. And well, when we got there, I tried to get some kicks in, but it was really more of a them fight.
I recall him summoning some sort of ocean-faring beast or jumping.
They immediately went at each other and crashed through the local soup kitchen and various other buildings, the pharmacy, etc. And I just couldn't really keep up. I'm not that fast of a runner, and when I do run fast, I end up propelling myself sort of in a circle because of the power of my one leg.
Maybe he jumped on an ocean beast, or the ocean beast jumped on him.
So I like to think that I got, a kick or two in. I like to think that.
There was something octopus related.
No, these aren't tentacles like an octopus. These are legs, like kicking legs. Yeah, no. I know I do have a lot of sea aspects to me. Hook hand, Admiral, hat, but these aren't tentacles. It's not an octopus head. Do they think I'm an octopus guy? Would you say that you have a nemesis?
Well, as I have previously stated, the maniac that cut off my hands and my other parts.
My nemesis? Yeah. I've never thought of it that way. I've thought of it more as, a great payoff in one of my most successful experiments, but I suppose you could say nemesis. I do consider myself a supervillain, as you put it, and I suppose, he's not much of a hero, but, he's not as fucked up as I am. We've certainly gone through the ringer a couple of times. I usually send any number of robots,
shoebots,
mech suits,
smaller mech suits,
experiments,
dogs in dog mech suits. I think it was his dog. It may have been unrelated.
A couple freaks, but that's less common.
Other villain-related beasts.
He usually ends up trying to drill me. I know what you're thinking. Whoa. Would I be opposed to it? That's not the question, but with his hands. That doesn't really clarify either.
We fight very frequently and everywhere. If I see him, I will try and drill through him into a wall, and then from the other side until they touch.
One of my favorite battles is the gas station fight, where I utterly and unequivocally won. I win most of our fights, but that one was good.
The gas station battle. That was quite a fight that day. Where there was some land casualties. The gas station did not survive, but I would like to say that everyone at the gas station did survive mostly, and I did beat him with this part of the drill, the back part. The front part I did not, because it was bent from the conflict and all of that.
Anyone who was there saw the moment where I was in a mech at the time. The mech picks him up. His drill arms are a-flailing. I'll never forget that. And I used the other hand of the mech. I spanked him. And I spanked him. This went on for quite some time. And he was just defeated after that. He was defeated. He was mad. He was angry. But I don't think that he had the willpower to recover after that. It was fantastic.
Well, I think if anyone thought I didn't win that day, they were probably one of the few who were in the gas station and felt the explosion. But they all lived, mostly. And so they probably were, not in the proper mental state to call the proper winner of the fight.
I won. I don't know who's telling you this. I don't know who's telling you that he beat me. That's not how it happened.
Well, how did you hear about the gas station fight? Is that asshole here? Is he here today for an interview?
Did you have him here? Did you have him? Are you going to have him?
If he was here, not even a gas station could stop me.
Did he tell you about the ball torture? That was when we first met. That was another one of my cherished members.
The scientist, he has an immeasurable amount of blood on his hands. The only thing I have on my hands are drills. And so, the scientist, I would say, is my arch nemesis, who I hate more than any other thing on this planet.
Do you know his name?
The scientist. Like I said, fighting good old Golden Boy. Every other day, whack him through a bank. I will say I have used his skull to open a bank vault on no less than 3 occasions. It is spectacular. I cannot describe the feeling. It's like when you crack an egg, but it's the vault with his face. It's art. Nemesis, I could not give less of a shit or fuck or anything. I really don't care. If he wanted to be, that's good for him, I guess. He probably subscribes to those things, being the strange, lawful guy that he is. I do believe you humans have noted that I fight the WhackJob quite frequently, and he is strong. I think he is one of the strongest that humans have produced. He tends to kind of throw me up, and he likes the up and then punch down, but he always chooses whatever building has the most floors that's right in the vicinity. He thinks that will, each floor is 1, 2, it's like each floor is another punch. So that's not great on the back. And so that is always a good time, a good romp. It's fun to be challenged at times. It does really amaze me that he never sees this one come just from here to there. It gets him every single time. I don't know if he likes it at this point, if there's something about it that he feels like the fight has to start that way. But it's the best. I send him through the closest 5 walls. Just generally, I'll throw you over here, I'll punch you into this. Yeah, it's tough work, but we got a lot of construction workers here. I like to think we keep the economy going in that way. But my nemesis is anything that would harm the humans that I've come to love so much. And that could be anything, as I said, from an asteroid to a burst from the sun, or an alien maniac trying to do a genocide. Yeah, and so if I don't keep track enough to have a nemesis. It's not a special relationship. I'd fight, you know. I talk about him in these situations. I know that's what you guys like to hear. It's the big scoop, you know. I don't care. I if you guys got up right now and said you wanted to fight, that's good with me. Does that mean you're my nemesis? I don't think so. You know, this plant, I'll fight that. I I'll fight anybody. You know, it's part of my charm. What can I say?
Do I have a nemesis? I wish that I did. I wish that I had a nemesis, and I see that some of the other heroes have nemesis, and I I want one. I wish there was someone else around. There is this creepy thing that kind of lurks around, but I don't even know what it is, or it kind of freaks me out, so I just stay away from it. I don't have a nemesis, but I seem to be the nemesis of every person in this town. Every time something goes wrong, it's blame the freak, the vicious horror is at it again. Some teenagers knock over a mailbox. Oh, the horrible hound was at it again. Oh, there's some dog craps on somebody's lawn, and that was the vicious horror. He's out there. He's a horrible animal. So I don't have a nemesis, but it seems I am the nemesis. No matter what I do, I'm just trying to live my life. I wish there was a guy who had one really big arm or something, and he was my nemesis. Or, I guess you could say my nemesis is all of evil. Everyone that is evil. So I have more nemeses than any of them.
A weakness. I wouldn't say that there's a single flaw about me. Perhaps my weakness is that I just love defiling. I just love getting my hands into things and making them not right. It's an impulse. Maybe I'm sick. Maybe I'm a sicko. It could very well be that I'm a very sick person. I think but it's not a flaw to me.
I would say maybe my weakness is my control over my own power. As I mentioned, I can't really run. It's hard for me to aim my kicks where I'm trying to kick them. And sometimes the kick is so powerful that I just kind of go flying too. I love my powers and I love Lefkevsky. But I wish that I was a little bit better at using my powers. I am also lactose intolerant.
Good old kick to the nuts. That'll put anybody down, I got the same weaknesses, as anybody who's got a father like mine. Just the ordinary stuff. I don't know if we have previously established this fact, but my hands are drills. I live every day of my life with drills as hands. I can do nothing with this. I require constant help. I can't go to the bathroom. I can't eat with these. It's like, maybe you could use them as chopsticks. I see. Every time I've tried, I just end up stabbing it to try and eat it. It smashes the food, and when I do get it to my mouth, I don't want that in my mouth. Do you know how many holes I've drilled through my cheek? If this was a smaller drill, maybe I could be a decent dentist, but too big for that. There is no greater curse. I can't touch any. It's like Midas, but I get no gold. All I get is holes. That this is the source of my powers. I'm not sure why anyone would say that. I think that people should appreciate the idea that my leaf represents, somewhere where there are golden leaves that shine like beautiful metal. I think that would be a place to be admired. Last time I checked, I was citizen superior, so I think I would know. Completely baseless, obviously. I mean, I'm here. I won't take it off, no.
A weakness? I'm just a man. I have the same weakness as any man. I could fall off a cliff. I could get into a car accident. It's not a silver bullet. I mean, a silver bullet would kill me, so I guess you could say that a silver bullet is my weakness. But it'll kill me just as much as a regular bullet. I have plenty of weaknesses. Man is fragile.
Do you know what it's like not to be able to hold your son in your arms, or your wife, when she looks beautiful? If I had a son or wife, I would know, but I can't imagine. My powers, they come from me. They come from in here, and I'm the one that can fly and am fast and strong. And one thing that humans don't often bring up is my incredible ability to dig. It's often dismissed, but even as a baby, I was able to dig halfway through the earth, upwards, digging through thousands, if not millions, if not billions, if not trillions of pounds of earth. And my eyes also, when underground, they glow to help me see my path and the truth. And I use this power often, and more often than people think. Every night. What am I digging for? Well, any number of things, Why do people do what they... Looking for my home? Well, I mean, who wouldn't want to look for somewhere where there are beautiful leaves of gold? Do you know anywhere where there are underground trees with golden leaves? I don't know where that is. But I would love to find my home, and my people, and where I belong and come from. Have you heard about the new bill being passed in regards to super beings? We have a copy here. This is paper. I wondered if you Oh, yeah. This, no more super people. I'm supposed to read it. Can you hold it up?
Yes, I have heard of this. I've been very up to date with this. I'm glad you brought this up. Essentially, the City Hall has convened and is weighing the pros and cons of having superheroes around in our town, and essentially the benefit versus the cost and the damage. I actually have been consulting on drafting some of the early versions of the pact.
I thought this would have more to do with me and my bouts with the scientists. It's a strange way to show appreciation, that's for sure. I'm not entirely sure what court system they would plan to enforce these laws upon me, as they themselves did not grant me a citizenship. I don't think I need to worry about this. I think all I do is help. And so I don't think that this would be a problem.
I don't really believe that heroes should have to stop fighting villains. Villains are evil, and they're the bad guys. They're the ones who always wreck things.
These petty rivalries. You mentioned nemesis. It's become so much less about protecting people and doing the right thing. It's become so much more about these rivalries. And I once saw the
the mad scientist, Dr. Malpractice, or whatever, he didn't pay for his food. He was at a food truck. He didn't pay for his food. And to rectify this situation, the drill sergeant didn't talk to him or let it go, God forbid. The entire food truck was destroyed by the end of the altercation. For what? For a couple of dollars that this man didn't pay. And I'm not saying that people should get away with crimes, but I'm just saying that these things are getting out of hand.
They also have to understand that when you're at war and you're fighting for freedom, that there will be some collateral damage, and whether that's, a gas station or a city bus, you can't put a price on freedom.
And that's the least of it. There's the insane crowbar man versus the citizen superior leveling city blocks. And why? Is it really worth the money that WhackJob would be taking to demolish buildings and potentially take countless lives? I don't believe so.
I do suppose we've been doing quite a bit of damage. New legislature. Alright. It's honestly a bit exciting that they're creating a new law specifically for me that I get to break. It's exciting to break laws. That's what I've always done.
Yeah, the section about the destruction of property. Did you talk to that scientist, sicko? You thought this was about him, right? You think it was the gas station incident? Idiot.
Cuts and bolts and drill sergeant have their fights, but I guess this law is pointed more towards citizen superior and WhackJob. They are the ones who usually end up, one time they collapsed a whole parking garage.
It's about me. This is about villains. It's talking about the villains destroying things and me stopping them. Good. Me and the golden boy, we have leveled blocks. Any buildings that are mildly damaged. There's this one time in Town Square, it was not anything after, there was crumbs. You look like a kid that ate toast. There's nothing left. Any damage that the evildoers do in that process is strictly on their conscience, and then I do think that they are responsible for the damage they cause while I do my job and stop them. It's troubling because they're trying to stop someone who's trying to stop evil. They're inhibiting my ability to punish an evil man.
I guess Citizen Superior was partially responsible for wrecking certain buildings, but it was because he was fighting an evil man, an evil bad man guy. And he was doing the right thing. How much? That's a lot of damages. Essentially, the goal is for both parties, the villains and the heroes, to agree to put an end to their vigilantism, allowing everyone to go their separate ways. And it's become so much, like I said, about rivalry and one-upsmanship that I'm not sure either of the heroes or the villains care much about being a hero or doing a crime. I think everyone could just go their separate ways, and that's what I'm really hoping. And I'm hoping that we can get everyone to agree, to get everyone to sign, and that it will in fact be illegal to pick up these so-called professions again, and there will be no need, because both parties will then be nullified and there will be no need for either. Because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense why these gods can get away with destroying property. For what? Not to protect us, I assure you that.
I guess my thoughts on this. I'm a villain. I was never one who followed the rules to begin with. So I would be perfectly happy to sign a pact. I just have no intention of honoring it.
What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do about it at the end of the day? I think I'd like to see them enforce it, because
Well, I do suppose if there was some way that they could enforce these laws to ensure that each hero and villain would follow these laws, and I was hypothetically, of course, forced to no longer be a supervillain. That is the question. I see. Well, I have plenty of skills. I can make mechs and robots. I could get into engineering. Perhaps not.
if I was no longer a hero, well, I think being a hero is in my nature. But if for some reason I couldn't, I guess I could really invest myself in my other ventures, like digging and searching. If I had to agree to that, what would they have to give me? I don't know. There's no small amount of money. That's for sure. But it's not as much as it is all about the money. It's not entirely only about the money. This is I chose to do this for my living. And so it's fun for me. And so I do enjoy what I do, and so I don't know if you can really put a price on that. I getting the clean hit on the superior up to the atmosphere. Doesn't get better than that. But maybe if they threw enough money and maybe like an island or something, what would I do? Well, seeing as fighting the scientist and destroying him is my sole reason for existence, I have not put much thought into this.
I am a doctor. I have a great working knowledge of the human body. What does a ordinary doctor do?
What would I do if I wasn't a supervillain? Well, I'll tell you what, I'd keep living my life because I'm not one. And I think that passing this bill is finally the first step that I could have in starting to live a normal life. Because these heroes and these villains, they've created this environment of destruction and terror and fear, and I've been a unfortunate side effect of all of that. My persona as the horror, it's unwarranted, and I think that finally putting an end to the destruction and the vigilantism, I think that's really the first step for the people of this world to finally start just accepting me, and just not even that, just leaving me alone. I just want to be left alone, and I just want to live my life.
And I think, well, despite what laws and government may say, I am, and I have these powers, and I am a citizen, and these are facts. Maybe if I can't take over an island, I'll use my skills. I'll be a pro baseball player. They make a lot of money for not very much work at all. You just show up, whack balls. Not a whole lot different from what I do now. Yeah. Could see myself doing that.
Would you find that that would be fulfilling to you?
You'll never get the same crack out of a baseball that you do out of a hit. You might think, he can work construction. What am I gonna... Oh, hey, drill sergeant, we need exactly one of these 2-sized holes drilled. These are not common sizes. They're the most inconvenient size. I don't know who uses this. Not people at construction zones. I've asked. So,
Does the world have room for someone as truly twisted as me? If not in the position of a supervillain, there isn't room for the things that I love in society, which is, of course, mutilation and the splicing of humans with various machines.
I guess if I couldn't be a superhero anymore, at least in the context of fighting bad guys and kicking criminals,
I don't know that I would be fulfilled.
I guess maybe I'd still have to just try and be a hero in my regular life.
What would I do? Indeed.
You know, I hold the door for old ladies and stand up to bullies.
I don't want to talk about this.
I think we can all be heroes if we do that. And if they say that, no more fighting, then I guess maybe that could be a good thing. Maybe. I guess my whole thing is kicking Admiral Attack. Maybe I'd have to change my name. Yeah, I think if we all do those little things and try and be heroes, I think we could get by. I think we could all get by. I do like being a hero. I like kicking butt. But if we can all be heroes in the little ways, maybe that's better than majorly destroying the city in big ways.